What's going on, everybody? It's the Bulls Show, aka Aiden, and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, today we had a game to see who would be the comfortable spot in the 9th position between the Chicago Bulls and the Indiana Pacers. And ladies and gentlemen, just when you thought by the first half that the Bulls were in control, they had the game in their hands, and it looked like they were going to solidify themselves in the 9th seed, the choke artists begin to choke. And Indiana found the key to beat this Bulls team, and that key was pressure. They pressured this Bulls team for a whole half of basketball, and the Bulls collapsed and crumbled in almost theater type action. It really was a dramatic fall from grace by the Chicago Bulls as we lose this game to the Indiana Pacers. We'll talk a little bit about it in this video. Before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bulls Show, turn notifications on, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the Chicago Bulls overall game today. Who was your player of the game? Your thoughts and opinions on how well or how poorly the Bulls played. And let's put it this way, man. It was a complete game of, I guess, opposite halves, man. What a fantastic first half that led to one of the worst second half performances I think I've ever seen in an NBA game, let alone for the Chicago Bulls. It was really that bad. We lost this game 116 to 110. And oh boy, the Bulls once again have a big problem, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm starting to see things a little bit more clearly now about these problems. We failed to beat the scrappy teams, and some of those scrappy teams, yes, they might be lower caliber teams, but Indiana is technically on our level right now. Their record is higher than ours, they are in a higher position than ours, and they're a scrappy team, and the Bulls simply can't handle it. They can't handle the pressure. They can't handle being full court press or being pressed once they reach the halfway line. They can't handle, I guess, constant effort by any team really that makes them in trouble. As soon as there's a glimmer of pressure, the Bulls will crumble, the Bulls will fall, the Bulls will not win the game. And that's exactly what we saw this time out, and it's what we've been seeing in almost every single Bulls loss that we've seen. The scrappy teams, the teams that are willing to fight for the win, the teams that don't give up on where they are at the moment. And the Bulls, look, I'll say this in two ways, because it could have went in two directions here. Either one, the Bulls went completely against what was working for them, and that resulted in Indiana making that comeback and then applying the pressure for this Bulls team to crumble. Or two, the Indiana Pacers made us play a different style of basketball, and that resulted obviously in us crumbling, and then once they applied the pressure, we simply could not handle it either. I want to give respect to that Pacers team. At the end of the day, there are not many teams out there that would fight from, I don't even know how much we're up by. It felt like at least 18 points, I would assume. But it could have been more, could have been less, I don't know. But that's really what it felt like. There's not a lot of teams that would come back from that situation. But lo and behold, the Indiana Pacers, by the way, without Tyrese Halliburton, got the job done. And they applied that pressure on the Chicago Bulls, and we couldn't respond. I don't know what it is. And no, I'm not blaming coaching staff for the reason why we lost this game. I know a lot of people might say that just because of the fact that, again, we completely just dropped from the first half to the second half. We just fell off a cliff in terms of our performance. I'm putting most of this blame, 90% of this blame, is going on the players. I don't know how this team has been together for over a year and a half now, and they still fall to pressure. They still fall to full court presses and half court presses. And a good coach in Rick Carlisle, to be fair, applies those things that he knows will work, and the Bulls simply just fall into that trap and they crumble. And at the end of the day, we have seen this for over a year and a half now with this main team. And I'll give you an example. Last year against the San Antonio Spurs, in a whole half of basketball, they pressed, they half court pressed, they full court pressed us, and at the end of the day, we lost that game to the San Antonio Spurs, just like we've lost this game now to the Indiana Pacers. It's the same thing. Technically, you might say the Bulls have the better players, they have the more experienced players. Their players are going to, well, at least some of them might be in the All-Star game, whatever the case may be. The thing is, a game of basketball is not about individual players. It's about a team game. And Indiana played the much better team game in the second half than the Chicago Bulls did. We went back to isolation and hero ball. We went back to thinking that we're just that team that could just absolutely, destroy everybody by playing isolation. It just doesn't work, ladies and gentlemen. Team basketball is more than just letting people like DeMar or Zach shoot the ball when it's their time to shoot. You got to get other people involved. And what's so frustrating about this game is that we saw it in the first half. The ball movement was incredible. It was a really fantastic first half to watch. The ball went through Vucevic. The movement was on fire. People were cutting. People were getting involved. Where was any of that in the second half of that game? The best play I saw in the second half was from a guy that doesn't even play that much anymore, and Andre Drummond making a big difference in that second half. That's the best play we saw in the second half. We didn't really see anything else that came remotely close. And at the end of the day, we deserve our losses. We deserve that embarrassment that we feel once again as Bulls fans watching this team disappoint after another very bad half of basketball. Another game where we don't play 4 quarters. Another game when we fall into lackadaisical, really just shitty basketball. I think that might have been, does that count as a swear word? I don't know. But at the end of the day, that's exactly what it was. Pure, just crap basketball. That's what we played in the second half. And I want to give respect to that Indiana Pacers team. I really, really do. They did an amazing job. Again, they played scrappy and they figured out the game plan. They figured out how this Bulls team crumbles. And the worst part is, looking at that Indiana Pacers team, if any other team that does their scouting properly, they'll know how to beat the Chicago Bulls team. It's pressure. It's applying pressure to the ball handlers. It's applying pressure, full court pressure, half court pressure, whatever it is. It's not giving our guards the room to breathe, because we can't handle it. We don't have the guards that can handle that situation. And it's as simple as that. I want to talk a little bit about the fourth quarter now as well. Look, my must improve will obviously be Zach, but I'll get to that later. But man, oh man, that fourth quarter, that was really, it was a hurtful sight to see. I feel genuinely hurt by this Bulls team for the fourth quarter they managed to produce, in the third quarter as well, 100%. But Zach LaVine, oh my God, did he hurt us in this game today. And look, again, Zach LaVine has had a very, very good month of January. I'm not going to discredit his whole month of January, but in this game, I don't know who he thinks he is, but sometimes you got to go away from what doesn't work. I really do believe every single time we actually had success in the fourth quarter, it was when Zach LaVine wasn't involved in the game. It was when Vucevic had the ball, or DeMar had the ball, or it was hustle plays by Caruso or someone that actually got something done by this team. As soon as we went to Zach LaVine, this man in TJ McConnell was bodying Zach LaVine. He was throwing him around everywhere. And at the end of the day, we persisted on going to Zach LaVine. I don't know if that was a coaching decision, but I really don't think it was. I really do not think it was. I think Zach LaVine tried to play the hero today, and the hero fell on his ass. That's really what it went. He was not the hero today. He was flat on his ass half of that fourth quarter. Turnover after turnover after turnover, getting bodied, getting stripped, and he's still taking dumb shots as well. Again, Zach LaVine, you need to have a look at yourself. That was an embarrassing quarter that you played, an embarrassing game that you played this time out. And look, I'll give you this, you had a great month of January, and by no means am I saying you're not the guy on this team anymore because of one bad game. But next game, there has to be a response there, because that is not the caliber of player that you are. And you got to learn to be a little bit more unselfish. If you're getting bodied and you're getting full court pressured every single time down the stretch, when they literally have the game plan of putting one man that's locking you up on you the entire time, you got to learn to trust your teammates more. Pass the ball more. But to be fair, it wasn't just Zach LaVine. It was everybody on this team. The fourth quarter was a joke, and Zach LaVine was the brunt of it in many ways. But that's just another thing that I was very disappointed about. How can this Bulls learn? To be honest, I don't know how much left the Bulls need to learn. We are more than halfway through the season, and the scrappy teams always seems to get a hold of us in some sort of way. And Indiana was just a prime example of that, and I think they did it better than most of the other teams that we actually versed that was somewhat scrappy. They actually had the purpose of pressuring this team as well, alongside of their scrappiness in terms of their play. Fair play to them. They played a great game, and at the end of the day, they now see the, main spot in the 9th seed. We're not really, in competition with that at the moment. Of course, one game difference, things can change over the next 2 games for sure. But right now, between the 9th and the 10th spot, that battle, we lost it. And we've got to take some accountability for that. Again, I know there was a back-to-back. I know the Bulls just came from Paris and whatnot. Maybe that's another reason why we didn't play at our best. But I'm not putting that as an excuse because, again, even if you're playing poorly, it doesn't mean you revert back to isolation ball. It just doesn't. It doesn't mean you can refer back to what never really works for this team. And when we're tired or when we're being targeted or when we're being pressured and the Bulls can't respond, again, if you're losing because you're tired, it's somewhat acceptable because in many ways, look, it's a back-to-back. We've had a very tough, I guess, 2 games and obviously the jet lag in between. But when you're playing tired and you're still reverting back to trash basketball, plain and simple, there's no excuse in the world that can defend that, back-to-back or not. So the Bulls should be ashamed of themselves for that second half, and now we've got to move on. We've got to see how the Bulls can respond. We were on a 3-game winning streak now. Again, when it looks like maybe there could be a 4 or 5 game win streak in us, we fall to the next opposition. And now we've got to figure out what is next for this Bulls team. The must improve is Zach LaVine. I've already said it. Again, embarrassing performance from Zach LaVine. Really, really disappointing. And again, he just tries to do too much for this team. And it hurt us. I think even the commentators were really having a go at Zach LaVine for trying to do too much. Sometimes it's okay to play with the ball out of your hands. We just simply never saw it in that game. And every time Zach LaVine tried to do something, it didn't work. It's a bad game from Zach, but he doesn't help it by trying to do too much. He needs to learn to trust in those teammates a little bit more. Let some other guys make some plays. Keep playing through Vooch, which we didn't see at all in the second half. And as much as DeMar DeRozan had 33 points, played amazing basketball, my player of the game is Nikola Vucevic, because I truly feel so sorry for a center that had everything going in the first half, was dominating in the first half of that game, had everything he wanted in the world in terms of shot selection, and we completely just went against what actually worked. Yes, there were a couple of times he turned it over, and there were a couple of times where the chair was pulled out and Miles Turner did a great job defensively. I get it, he's a great player, Miles Turner, but we went against what really worked. And it was clear that Indiana were very much worried about Nikola Vucevic. But the Bulls made sure that wasn't a problem because we went away with what worked. And that came back to haunt us as well. So my player of the game is Vucevic. I don't care what anybody says. That's my situation at the moment. That's how I feel about this Bulls team. Our record now is 22-25, back to 3 games below 500. It's not all over for the Chicago Bulls, but we don't have time to be losing games. If you want to try and avoid the play-in tournament, these are the games not only do you need to win against a direct rival at the moment, but these are the games that you just simply need to get under your grasp to continue that winning ways, because we don't have time to lose. And right now, we are losing, and we lost a game that we had in our hands. This game was in the palm of our hands and we let it slip. That's on the Bulls, every single one of them. Our next game is against the Charlotte Hornets. I'm not really sure what to expect from that Charlotte Hornets team, I can't lie. They've been disappointing this season, but they do have a lot of injuries. I don't know if LaMelo Ball will be playing in that game either, but we don't have time to focus on the injuries. We don't have time to focus on who's going to be out and who's going to be in for the Bulls or for the Hornets or for the Pacers or whatever team there is. You got to play. And you got to play like every game is a playoff game. And before I go, I just want to say one more thing. Because let's just say we avoid the play-in tournament. Or hell, let's just say we're in the play-in tournament and we advance into the playoffs. Or we avoid the play-in and we're in the playoffs. How do you think playoff teams are going to play once they're there? Do you think they're just going to let the Bulls breathe? Take your time, take the shots that you need to take. We're not going to apply any pressure to you whatsoever. We're just going to let you do what you do and we'll beat you our way. Do you really think that's what teams are going to do for the Chicago Bulls? Allow us to play our style of basketball? Absolutely not. Playoff situations are probably the most pressure that is put onto you and other teams put onto you that the NBA has to offer. That's why the best teams make it. Simple as that. If we have the talent to get there, that's great. But if you can't handle pressure, don't expect us to go past the first round. Because there will be teams that will be pressuring you beyond belief. And you need to handle that. And you did not handle it well today. And you haven't handled it well all season. You gotta learn. And at the end of the day, we're halfway through the season. You don't have that much trust in this team to learn anything really beyond this point. You should have figured everything out by now. But we simply have not done it. So it's time to see what we can do going on to the rest of the games. And we'll wait and see, I guess, how much pressure teams will put on us now after this performance, after that dramatic collapse. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you in the next Chicago Bulls video, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you all enjoyed this one. A bit of a ranty type video. I know some people do like those types of videos. Not for me personally, but Can't hide emotion, can't hide how you truly feel. And I guess this video proves that. Have a wonderful and safe day. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned for more. Take care.